What even is RuneScape? More specifically, what is old school RuneScape and is it worth playing in 2023? RuneScape has been a game that has been around for over 20 years now, but they made an old school version of it about 10 years ago now, and a lot of people ask me, is it worth getting into? Today I'm going to be breaking down the entire game and showing you everything that the game has to offer, and you can decide for yourself if you want to give it a try. So RuneScape is broken down into a bunch of different categories, the main thing being the skills that you train. So we have 23 unique skills that you can train all the ways from level 1 to 99, and this will make your total level. And then we have combat level, which is your character's actual level in game. So basically the combat level is your attack, your strength, defense, range, prayer, magic, and HP calculated all together to make up a number for you, and that will be your combat level. And then also we've got quests, which I will touch on in this video. We've got achievement diaries, combat tasks, and collection log. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you briefly train every single skill in the game, starting with melee combat. So melee combat is using a sword, and basically you can attack things all the way from something basic like a cow all the way up to a mythical dragon or a raid boss. And how you choose to get your experience is you go to your combat options here, and depending on the weapon, it's different for every weapon, but this sword that I'm using right now, if I have my chop option on, I will just be training attack whenever I'm in combat, and my slash will be strength, my block will be for defense, or some of them have a shared option where you can train all three of the combat styles at once. Very slower experience though. And whenever you kill a creature or attack a creature and get a hit on it, you will always get the HP experience as well. Next, moving on to range, it's pretty much the exact same thing, but you can attack creatures from afar. So I could shoot this cow being outside of the pen right now and get my range experience. Now, some weapons will allow you to train defense as well, which can help you if you want to train up your defense, but most of the time you want to have it on either accurate or rapid whenever you are in combat. Range is one of my favorite styles in the game because you can shoot creatures from afar and it tends to do a decent amount of damage, especially later in the game. Now, magic is another combat style that you can use, but there's so many different ways of actually training magic. So you can have your basic spells. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. Now, you're going to need these things called runes in order to cast the spells. So since I have a mind rune and an air rune, I can actually cast a water spell or an air spell on this cow right here. And the same as range, I can use it from a distance and actually get my shot in. Now, magic gets really complicated because there's 4 different spell books. So for example, right now I could switch out to a different spell book. So I'll go to, say, the ancient spell book right now, and I have a whole different things that I can actually cast on these cows. So I could use this to, say, freeze a cow in place. He did die instantly, but he would have been frozen there, right? So magic has a ton of different spells. Magic also has like utility spells, for example, right here. So say I don't want this rune pickaxe anymore, I can actually use this high alchemy spell, which will convert an item into gold. So I can cast this on the rune pickaxe and turn it into 19,000 coins. Other really cool uses for magic is just teleporting all around the game with its various different teleports that you have access to. This can be extremely useful to just get yourself around the game. A very great skill to train to just really help out your gameplay, and pretty much everyone will use magic. I would say magic is probably one of the weaker combat styles in combat, but for its utility, it's one of the best skills in the game. Now, the next skill is going to be prayer. Now, prayer is kind of like similar to a magic spell book where you have these little abilities that can help you throughout the game. Things all the way from, say, increasing your range by 15% when active, all the way up to protecting yourself from melee damage or from magic damage or from range damage, right? So for example, if I go up to, say, a hellhound right here, maybe up somewhere up here, and just start attacking this hellhound right here, eventually you will see he will do some damage to me. I am a little bit higher of a level, but see right there, he hit a 2 on me, right? Another 11. If I put pray for melee on, he will never deal damage to me as long as this prayer is active. It's actually really good and can really help you in late game PvM and combat, so prayer is an essential skill. Now, how prayer is trained is by offering bones that you collect in combat to the gods, either by burying them, using different spells on them, but the most common way is by offering them on an altar. Now, offering your bones to the altar in the wilderness is probably the best way of training it because you save a lot of the bones in the process and you get really decent experience, but it can be risky, so you wouldn't want to bring them all at once. Now, you can have an option of building an altar in your house, which I will talk about later. This will make sure that you never die because it's not in the wilderness, but you won't get that 50% extra bones. But yeah, prayer is a very expensive skill to train unless of course you collect all of the bones yourself. Now, runecrafting is a skill where you have to get these unpowered essence and head to all the different mysterious runes throughout the game and craft your runes, which these are the ammo that you use in the magic skill. So it can actually be pretty awesome when you actually can craft the runes yourself to use in magic combat, right? This is also a very profitable skill and one of the best skills in the game to make money. Also, Jagex just released the Guardians of the Rift update, which is kind of like a mini game where you can train runecrafting and you go to all of the different altars in the game and can make a ton of different runes this way. So this is kind of the way most people train it now. Back in the day, we had to run to each individual altar to make different types of runes, but these are the actual equipment that you use to cast the magic spells. Now, the next skill is construction, where you take planks and you can go ahead and create things in your player-owned house to gain construction experience. Other ways of training it is by doing contracts with the Mahogany Homes update, which all this pretty much is you go and fix people's homes and then you go back to the contractor for your reward. Construction will provide you a player-owned house, which you can put tons of different things in to help you throughout the game. For example, right here, I have a portal nexus, which I put all of the magical spells in here so that I have unlimited casts of them. I just have to go to my house to use it. I also have a fairy ring and a tree spirit here, which is things that you unlock with questing, and this is another way of teleporting throughout the game. I also have a costume room here, which I can store tons of different items that I don't have to clog up my bank. I also have a place where I can store all of my pets that I've gained throughout the game. I have a lectern here which I can make teleport tablets. I've got a jewelry box where I have all of the enchanted jewelry in the game with unlimited charges. I've got an occult altar which I can swap through all of the spell books in the game without having to run up to the ancient temples in order to do so. There's just so much you get with your player-owned house, like this right here, which is a rejuvenation pool. So anytime I take damage in the game, get poisoned, anything, I just sip this and I get fully regenerated back up. So say I use a bunch of my prayer right now and try and drain it a little bit. As you can see, the prayer is draining, right? All I have to do is sip this and it's right back to full. So whenever I enter my house, I can just get rejuvenated and go to the next location that I want to be. Construction is a really expensive skill to train, but once you build a nice house, it's very convenient and will help you throughout the game. I think construction is probably one of the best skills in the game just for convenience. So the next skill on the list is agility. Now, agility, there's multiple different agility courses that you can kind of run throughout the game, and basically what agility is your stamina. So as you can see right here, it's your stamina, and eventually it will go down over time, and the higher you train your agility, the longer this takes to go down. Also, agility will provide you a graceful outfit, which when you wear it, it will make you run for a lot longer, and the run restoration will come back a lot quicker. So a lot of accounts at the start will rush their graceful outfit. I think you can get level 65, level 70 agility, and you should easily have the graceful outfit, and then it'll help you so much throughout the game. Also, agility will unlock a bunch of different shortcuts throughout the game, which can save you minutes upon minutes. Some methods in the game, like blood runecrafting, for example, you need to have the agility requirement or else you can't do the method, right? So agility is a very important skill, can be very repetitive and boring to train, but it is definitely one of the best ones in the game and is well worth training. Also, it tends to be one of the slowest skills in the game. So next is the Herblore skill, which is the art of making potions in the game. This is a very expensive skill as well. So pretty much what you do for Herblore is you get a raw herb and pretty much you have to clean it off, which requires a Herblore level, of course, and then you have to collect a secondary ingredient. Then you're going to need a vial, and then you have to fill the vial up with water and mix it together, and then add the secondary ingredient, and then you will be training Herblore. It does sound pretty complicated, but it is very easy. Each potion in the game has its own recipes of different things you're going to have to collect. It is a very fast skill to train, but can get super expensive. You can make things all the way up from an energy potion, which will restore your run energy, all the way up to a super combat potion, which will boost all of your combat stats for combat, as well as things like prayer potions, which will restore your prayer. And you have things like Ceridome and Bruise and super restores, which is other ways of healing in the game, right? There's so much cool and unique potions that you can make with Herblore. So the next skill is Thieving. Now, Thieving is exactly how it sounds. So pretty much you can go to different bakeries and stalls around the game and steal from them. And that's pretty much about it, as well as a bunch of different NPCs throughout the game you can steal from. And you can end up making a ton of money with thieving, but you do get caught sometimes, and it can be a little bit frustrating, especially when you are at the lower levels. You will get caught quite a bit. But at the higher levels, you can make a ton of money thieving, and there's tons of different NPCs that you can like pickpocket around the game. There's a bunch of cool mini games with thieving. Well, one of my favorites being Pyramid Plunder, where you raid an ancient pyramid. And yeah, it's a very in-depth skill and does take a lot to learn, but thieving is also very profitable and a very fast skill. Another skill that a lot of people get to level 99 right away just because of how fast it is to train, but you can make a lot of money with it. So thieving is a really cool skill, especially when I first started the game. That's kind of like all I wanted to do. It sounds bad, but yeah, thieving is a pretty cool skill. Now the next skill is crafting. Crafting is, again, exactly what it sounds. It's crafting things. You can make jewelry, bracelets, tons of different things that to later enchant with magic to give it unique abilities. You can also make armor to use in combat. You can make different little things like orbs to add to battle staffs. Crafting has a ton of uses. It's also used in a ton of different quests in the game. So crafting is definitely a good skill to train. It is one of the more AFK skills in the game where you kind of can just sit at a bank and relax to train it. So it is one of my favorite ones to do in the game, as well as it's kind of a prestigious one because not too many people have 99 crafting. So the next one is going to be fletching, and it's pretty much the art of making stuff for range training. So you can make bows, arrow shafts, different types of things to use in ranging combat. Pretty much all of the logs in the game you can use to do some fletching. It's very similar to crafting where you can just sit at a bank and do it. Fletching can also be a pretty profitable skill though, because the bows that you make actually have some value in the game and can be high alked for some pretty good gold. Seeing how fast fletching is, how easy it is, and how relative the resources are to get, it is one of the most common skills that players get to 99 right off the bat, and it is how a lot of the GP came into old school RuneScape when the game first came out. Okay, so the next skill on the list is Slayer, and it's arguably the most favorited skill in all of old school RuneScape, and it's pretty basic. All you have to do is go up to one of the many Slayer masters in the game, and they will assign you a task. Now this task can range at lower levels to kill 5 rats all the way up to kill 200 alchemical hydra bosses in the end of the game, right? So this is why people really like it, because it kind of scales with your level depending on where you are in the game. So right now I have a task to kill another 105 of the fire giants. So you have to locate where the fire giants are throughout the game and then go ahead and try and kill them, right? You can bring any type of equipment that you want and do your best to kill them. So this is why people like it so much, because you can train magic, you can train range, all of the melee stats. Slayer is a super profitable skill because you will be going all the way around the game, fighting different types of creatures all of the time, which will help you learn a lot about the game, a lot about where different creatures are, and some of them might have you complete certain quests and achievement diaries, which we will talk about later. But yeah, Slayer is one of my favorites. I think it is probably my favorite skill in the game just because there's so much variety with it. It doesn't get boring because every 30 minutes to an hour you'll be switching your location and task, and you make so much money. So what's to hate about this skill? Okay, so the next skill in the game is Hunter, and it's again exactly how it sounds. So you get different types of traps depending on what level you are. At the start, you're going to be hunting low-level birds, eventually getting yourself up to something like this, which you can hunt these little chinchompas, which these chinchompas can be used in combat for training range. But anyways, yeah, Hunter, you just lay out the box traps and hunt the creature. Now, there's a lot of different ways that people train the Hunter skill. Probably the most popular one is by doing birdhouse runs, where it's similar to farming, which I'll talk about later, where you set up a trap and then you check it once an hour, and then that's all you have to do. And it's kind of like a passive way to train this skill, because Hunter can get pretty boring and repetitive just hunting the exact same creature over and over again. Now, there's tons of different ways you can train Hunter and lots of different methods that can be more exciting, but to get the bulk of the experience, you're going to have to hunt these creatures. And yeah, it's exactly how it sounds. You can make a lot of money from Hunter, however, because these creatures are worth quite a bit, 700 coins per catch. So if you go doing this all the way to 99 Hunter, you will make a killing. Now, the next skill on the list is mining. Now, throughout the game, there is tons of different patches of ore that you can mine throughout the game, and you get different levels of pickaxes, different levels of ore that you can mine. And some of them take forever, and some of them are very easy to go and mine. There's also mini games like the Motherlode Mine, where you will mine these ore veins, basically, and you will get all different types of ores, which is probably one of the most popular ways to train this skill. Now, you can either bank your ore to make a lot of profit, or you can just drop it and stay at the spot. Some people go to the desert, which is probably one of the fastest methods of the game, to mine granite and then just drop the granite. And this is how you can get really fast mining experience, but a lot of people will go to the Motherlode Mine or just mine random ores throughout the game to make a profit with it. Mining, again, is one of the slowest skills in the game and does take a lot of dedication to get yourself to 99, but it is one of the most prestigious capes in the game. Now, the next skill is smithing, and pretty much what smithing is you take the resources you got from mining and you convert them into bars. So right now we're going to be making mithril bars by combining coal and mithril ore that we mined throughout the world, and we get ourselves mithril bars. Now, we can take these mithril bars to an anvil with a hammer and make them into resources. Once you get your bars and a hammer and find an anvil throughout the game, you can make tons of different armor and equipment that you can actually use later on in the game. So we're going to make some mithril knives, for example, right now, and this is where you'll get the bulk of the smithing experience. Smithing is a pretty slow skill to train. There are some fast ways to train it, like going to the blast furnace or the giant's foundry, which most people end up doing, but this is how you would train smithing the traditional way. Basically, what the blast furnace is a huge furnace where you can smelt all of the bars super quickly. Most people take advantage of this and smelt the gold, and you can get some very, very fast experience while getting the goldsmith gauntlets equipped, which you obtain from a quest. The Giant's Foundry, basically what this is it's a huge place where you make giant swords for this giant and hand them in for a bulk experience in smithing. So the next skill on the list is fishing, and again, it's exactly what it sounds like. You basically fish different types of fish around the game, ranging from when you very first start with shrimp and anchovies, all the way up to sharks in the late to end game. Fishing is a very important skill because you need to fish and then eventually cook the food, and then you can use this in combat to heal yourself. So fishing is a skill that you can actually make a decent amount of money from. Now, the next skill on the list is cooking, and what cooking is the fish that you caught while fishing, you can actually cook to gain cooking experience, and then you turn it into the raw fish, which you can't eat, to the cooked fish that you can eat and heal yourself during combat. Very important skill, again, to actually train. Cooking is one of the fastest skills in the entire game to train to 99, making it a lot of players' first 99. Myself included. Way back in 2009, I got 99 cooking for the very first time. Yeah, cooking is an extremely useful skill, and without cooking, we wouldn't have food to use in combat. Firemaking is the next skill that we have in old school RuneScape, and you take a tinderbox and logs and you light them together to create a fire. You can actually cook food on this fire, but a lot of people just burn logs in a line like this to gain their firemaking experience really fast. Now, the most popular way of training firemaking is by doing the Winter Todd minigame. Now what the Winter Todd is basically a minigame where you go with a bunch of people and you end up chopping logs and then fletching them into kindle and then throwing them on a big fire pit in order to kill a boss. It sounds really weird, and it's one of the few skilling bosses that old school RuneScape has to offer, but it's more fun than actually just lighting a million fires in a row. And this is how the bulk of people get to 99 firemaking. Firemaking is one of the most useless skills in the entire game. Doesn't have too much of a purpose. Yes, you can cook on the fires, but we have cooking ranges throughout the game. So yeah, other than a couple of quest requirements, firemaking's pretty useless. Woodcutting would be the next skill, and it sounds exactly how it is. You just chop trees, you'll woodcut. Now there's different types of trees that you can chop throughout the game, ranging from regular trees all the way to hard redwood trees once you reach level 90. Woodcutting, the methods don't really change too much. You're just chopping a bunch of different trees around the game. Now you can use these trees to fletch, or you can use them to just burn and train your firemaking with. So there's a few uses for the logs that you actually get, so woodcutting can be a little bit profitable. It tends to be the skill when new players join the game, they tend to really like woodcutting for some reason. It just is such a skill that you can train right away, and it feels like you're making a decent amount of progress with it, right? Because you can use the logs for so much at the very start of the game. Woodcutting is actually one of the slower skills in the game to get to 99, but it does become very AFK when you reach the, like 70, 80. You can do things like yew trees, magic trees, and eventually redwoods to make it a very slow but very AFK process to 99. The last skill is farming. Now, it is one of my favorite skills in the game. Basically, what farming is there's a ton of different patches throughout the game, all the way from allotment patches where you grow things like strawberries and watermelons and snape grass, to herbs where you can plant all of the herbs used for herblore, tree patches where you can grow the trees that you use with woodcutting. There's fruit tree patches that you can use to gather things like coconuts and papayas. There's just so much involved with farming. You can farm grapes to make wine eventually. Farming, it's kind of the skill. The reason I like this skill so much is you plant the crop and then you kind of just sit back, relax. You can log out for a week even, come back later and check your crops. It's kind of just like a farm town or farmville simulator on RuneScape, making it one of my favorite skills because you put a little bit of effort in, and then when you harvest, you get the bulk of the reward. Now you can choose to make a lot of money with farming if you say farm like berries and herbs and secondary ingredients for herblore, or you can spend a lot of money and make the fruit trees and the hardwood trees, and it costs you money, but you get a lot of farming experience, right? So you can plant all of the crops in the game, log in for about 20 to 30 minutes, and get about 400 to 500,000 farming experience in that single session. Most people tend to plant a couple of trees, do their farming contract in the farming guild, and then just do their herb runs, right? And this way they can, get a little bit of farming experience, but make a lot of money doing so. And this is what I tend to do. Being a max player still, I do my farm runs every single day just because of how profitable they are. And especially me being an Ironman account, I get to use all these valuable resources throughout the journey of the game. Farming is a great skill. If you ever played Farmville or something, you will definitely really like the farming skill. So next I'm going to talk about the quests in RuneScape, which is another huge factor of the game. So currently right now we have 156 unique quest lines. Now these aren't the typical MMO quests where it's go kill X amount of creatures. We have a whole skill for that, Slayer. So these quests are full storylines, ranging from like Romeo and Juliet all the way up to Dragon Slayer, where you defeat a huge dragon. And these can take anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. Most of them are about 20 to 30 minutes, and then some of them take up to 2 to 3 hours long, especially when they first come out and there's no guides for them. I remember Monkey Madness 2, that took me about 6 hours to complete. Being that they're huge storylines, it actually really gets you involved with the lore of the game, which I find really important, right? You go to a town, you think about what happened in that town throughout the quest lines. You don't just think of, this town has this boss to kill and that's it, and I just need to go to this town because it's the most efficient place to go to, right? No, you go to these towns and you think about the things that actually happened in the town, and that's really important of the game, right? I go to a place like Mauritania and I know that it's like a dead place where there was a lot of stuff happening, and then you think of that grandma and the boy with the Ghosts Ahoy quest. It's just really cool, and it just always makes you think about stuff like that. Achievement diaries are the thing I'm going to be talking about next, and what they are their tasks that you can do in each town of the game that will provide you different bonuses, and these range from easy to medium to hard to elite tasks that you can do. And some of them might just be, say, chop a tree in this town. Another one might be kill the boss in this town, right? So they range from different difficulties. And some of them are complete a mini game 5 times over. And some of them are very long. Catch 2,000 of a certain creature with Hunter, for example, right? And these can get you to do tons of different little tasks around the game, and they will reward you with the achievement diary gear, which can help you with different teleports throughout the game, different bonuses throughout the game, and they're extremely useful and definitely worth doing. And they have a ton of passive effects too, which can help your character out throughout the game. And I found it a lot of fun to complete the elite for every single city and town in the game. It was really rewarding, and they give you a little bit of experience lamps throughout every single time you complete one, so it's definitely worth doing on any account. Next, we have the combat achievements. Now, these are for different types of bosses throughout the game. So if I go to the easy category right here, right, and try to find one that I haven't completed, right? So the protection from moss. So this would get me to kill this creature with the protect from magic prayer active. So that's all I would have to do to complete that achievement. And they range to be extremely difficult, right? So if I go, some of them are for bosses specifically. So throughout all the bosses in the game, I can see the certain ones that I've completed and the ones I didn't. So Cerberus, 6 out of 6, good job with that one. But another random creature, for example, I'll go to General Gardor right here, and then I can see the tasks that I need to complete for this boss. So for this boss, I've done 2 of them already, and then I can see the different ones and the different difficulties that they have. This is a really cool system that you can do to try and increase your PVM, player versus monster activities in the game. It also will show you how many tasks you've completed, how many bosses you've killed, how many skilling bosses you've killed, how many raids you've completed, your favorite boss in the game, your favorite skilling boss in the game, and your favorite raid in the game. It's actually a really cool system. And then of course, there's obviously rewards that come with this, ranging from easy, medium, hard, elite, master, and grandmaster that will give you different things to kind of go for, right? The next one for me would be the elite combat tasks. Now the next thing would be the collection log. Now the collection log will kind of track every single item that you've got in the game. If it's a unique item from a boss, from a clue scroll, from a raid, from a minigame, from anything in the game, right? So for the bosses, for example, I can go to a boss and the only one that seems to be green, I've got a couple that are green here. So if I go to the gauntlet right here, it'll show that I've got 5 out of the 5 uniques from that boss. But say I go to Cerberus right here, I've only got 6 out of the 7 uniques for that boss, and it will track every single boss in the game and all the raids in the game. We got the Chambers of Zarek, the Theater of Blood, and the Tombs of Amasket, right? We'll show you how many times you've completed it and what you've obtained from it already. Same with the clue scrolls in the game. I can go to, say, the hard clue scrolls in the game, see what I've already got from that activity, and every single mini game, which is something I definitely want to complete one day, is all of the mini games. So we have things like the Giant's Foundry, which I've completed, and it will show you how many of the swords I created to actually complete that. So same with the Fishing Trawler right here, the Rogue's Den mini game, the Temple Trekking mini game. There's so many different ones that you can go through and try and collect every single item in there that you want to get. Then there's an other category, which is just random things throughout the game that don't really have a category, right? Like we have all of the pets in the game. These are extremely rare, by the way, like 1 in 5,000 chance most of the time. And then just the Champion Challenge. We've got the Chompy Challenge. We got the Experiments, which I don't even really know what this is. Okay, that's the experiments there. We got skilling pets, shooting stars, we got Slayer. Slayer has a bunch of unique random drops that you can get through it, miscellaneous drops that you can get through it. It's just really cool to track everything. Now, RuneScape might seem like a very intimidating game after watching everything in this video. There's a lot to learn, but at the same time, it's very basic, right? There's a lot to learn, but at the end of the day, you can learn the basics and kind of learn as you go, right? I'm still learning every single day. I've not learned everything about the game yet. There's still some content I go into, and it's like, how am I going to do this, right? It just takes a lot of practice and a lot of work and dedication. It's a game you can literally play forever. I've actually been playing RuneScape since 2009. Not on this account. I've been playing this account right here since about 2017, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. There's just so much to do. I've basically, quote unquote, completed the game, right? I've maxed my account, which means basically that I've gotten every single level from 1 to 99 in the game. I've completed every quest in the game and completed every achievement diary in the game. Most people would say that would be completing the game, but no, there's still so much I want to do. I want to fill out the collection log, complete some more combat tasks, and just grow my account, right? You also have a bank account in the game. Now, in your bank, you can kind of sort it to however you want. I've kind of tended to keep it pretty clean and organized for the most part, where you can keep all of your items that you've gathered along your journeys and categorize them in different tabs. Right here is just like my main tab. You keep my money in here, all my random tools and resources that I use, my achievement diary, equipment. We got some of the skilling items, my farming tab. We got my Herblore tab, my capes tab, all of the drops that I get from Slayer creatures throughout the game, and then some random equipment, my Slayer equipment, and then this is just like a tab of random items that I don't know what to do with, of course, but apparently it's about 1.6 billion GP. I don't know if that's too good or not, but yeah, anyways, yeah, definitely. This is what RuneScape is. This is why I've been playing it for about 15 years, and this is why I'm super addicted to it. Should you get into it, if you want a game that you can always play, want to have a game where there's always content for you, no matter the type of player you are, right? You're not locked to a certain race. You're not locked to a certain place where you need to go like most games, right? You can do whatever you want whenever you want. You could train cooking randomly one day and the next day go kill some Slayer bosses or send a couple of raids with some friends, right? You're completely free to do whatever you want. And I think that's why I think it's such an appealing game, right? You can be really efficient and sweaty, or you can take it chill and relax and just watch the movies on this side. That's why I think it's the perfect game, right? There's always progress being made, either slow or fast, however you want to take it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the video today. Sorry this video is extremely long, but if you did make it the whole way, make sure to comment tuna as always. Appreciate it. Thank you guys so much, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya later.